Vaya con Dios. It means goodbye, brother.
No, it doesn't.
Don't look at her. It does.
So that was a clip from the Minecraft movie, in case you didn't know. It hit theaters way back in April, and as of right now, keep in mind things could change, but we're kind of running out of time. But as of right now, it's looking like the highest grossing domestic movie of the year. But it wasn't exactly a great year at the box office, despite some high hopes. So tonight we wanted to look back at the year in Hollywood and look ahead at what 2026 could have in store. And so for some help, we want to turn to TV host, film critic, entertainment journalist, and content creator Andrew Freund, joining us now live from LA tonight. Thank you so much for spending some time with us.
Yeah, hey guys.
All right, so let's start with the box office overall. How would you kind of rank this year, and what do you think kind of contributed to the fact that it wasn't necessarily as big as Hollywood may have hoped?
Yeah, so this year the box office made around $8.76 billion. It was about a 1.6% increase than last year. However, we are still not at pre-pandemic levels. Just for comparison, pre-pandemic, the box office was regularly bringing in $10 to $11 billion a year. So we're still at a roughly 30% deficit. And really, I just attribute this to the post-pandemic era. People are just not going to the movies as much as they used to. They're used to the convenience of watching it at home, and they don't necessarily want to shell out, the money it costs to go to the theater, because quite frankly, it costs a lot more now to go to the movies than it did, let's say, in 2019.
In terms of the types of movies that were made this year from an artistic perspective, what are some of the maybe innovations that happen in 2025? Or what are some of the kind of relics that were brought back to the box office in terms of creativity or storytelling?
I mean, we're really seeing, like you showed with Minecraft, the kind of trend this year was family films and films based off video games did really well. I mean, we had family films like Minecraft, also a family film like How to Train Your Dragon, one of my favorite films, did super well. So that was kind of sort of the trend. And I will say, to bring it back to Minecraft, I covered the movie. I interviewed Jack and Jason. I remember sitting in the theater watching it, and I was like, what is this movie? But it's not really appealing to me. It's not appealing to my demo. So I wouldn't necessarily say there was a great artistic shift in 2025 in terms of the cinema. I just honestly think it comes down to people being smarter with their money and what they're going to do with it, and which movies they're going to pick to see based off either with their family or if it's just for them, sort of things like that.
So, Andrew, right now I have up the list of the top 10 domestic, highest grossing domestic movies from the box office. We mentioned a Minecraft movie, Lilo and Stitch, Superman, Jurassic World Rebirth, Wicked for Good, Zootopia 2, Sinners, The Fantastic Four, How to Train Your Dragon, Avatar, Fire, and Ash. Obviously that one in theaters now. On that list, we have 9 either sequels or remakes, a lot of comic book movies, a lot of franchises, Sinners being the one original Hollywood movie this year to make it to the top 10. Is that par for the course at this point? And is that upsetting for Hollywood, or do they just kind of know that's the case these days?
I mean, I think it's par for the course. These movies are really expensive to make. You're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars. The studios don't necessarily want to take chances. They want ROI. However, that being said, take a movie like Weapons, for example. That movie cost $38 million. My friend Zach Crager wrote and directed it. It was a wild success. It made over $269 million. So sometimes you are going to have studios that will push through the kind of smaller films that are this huge success. And I really attribute that to really kind of the producers and the studio executives at the studio that want to take chances. But now we see these companies have to listen to their shareholders. The shareholders want profits. So they're going to, make an Avatar. They're going to make a Lilo and Stitch. They're going to see another Yeah, I mean, we're going to see another Moana movie next year. I remember covering Moana 2 last year, and they were shooting the live action one, which comes out next year. So, they're not really hedging their bets because, we're getting into dangerous territory, especially now with like Netflix possibly buying Warner Brothers, which if that happens, the theatrical window is going to shrink like this. And then once the theatrical windows of these films shrink, what happens to the box office? What happens to the theater owners? So, it's going to be an interesting time in 2026 for sure.
When you talk about the overall, just the state of this danger zone, right? We have the streaming and social media merging together. Do you think social media consumption and this concept of niche audiences and funneling down and keeping things tighter, is that influencing the kind of movies that are coming out? And if so, what are audiences looking for in terms of stories heading into 2026 that they want to see on the screen?
Yeah, it's funny. I just saw a movie that's coming out in January called People We Meet on Vacation. It's a Netflix rom-com. And that film was really fueled by, it's based off this young adult book, kind of like a Colleen Hoover type author.
Yeah.
And it's really fueled by TikTok. I mean, people on TikTok like these kinds of short stories, especially any kind of YA rom-com. I mean, we're seeing it right now with the heated rivalry craze. Which is also powered off a novel, which is also getting powered off of TikTok and social media.
Right.
So I think to answer your question is yeah, we are seeing the influence of social media coming into the cinemas. Also, some of these movies are a lot less expensive to make than like an Avatar, which costs, over $400 million.
So kind of going off of Tony's question there too, do you think the way we talk about the box office needs to change as entertainment journalists and things like that, just because we can't necessarily gauge success by the numbers that it used to do, or how many theaters it opened in, and how many theaters, the average gross in the theaters? How does Hollywood define success these days?
Oh, that's a really good question. I mean, Hollywood really does still define success by box office numbers, but I think that people are a lot savvier these days. Also, what you guys are doing right now, not to make this all meta, but having this streaming show, let's face it, broadcast numbers are not going up.
Yeah.
So there's shows like this that we're doing right now where people are watching, that you can actually change the conversation and be a lot more honest versus, when I go on some of the other networks, I'm always honest, but it's a little bit more, polished sound bites, talking points, that kind of thing. I don't think audiences want that anymore. I think they want kind of this interaction. And in terms of myself being an entertainment journalist, they just want honesty, and they don't want canned sound bites. I guess that's what I'm kind of trying to say.
That makes a lot of sense.
We
to be honest
appreciate
with you.
that.
And that is something that Tony is a social media personality here,
just like you,
not just in the DMV but beyond too. And one of the things that we talk about is the authenticity that social media brings, and I think that's what people look for, and that's what we try to bring here, streaming as well.
Now, when talking about, I think, just the actors and the type of acting and that pipeline that happens in Hollywood, right? As you look into 2026, are there certain stars or places, or sources of stars and acting that you see as being the new pipeline with social media coming in? We saw Ethan Hawke last year talk about follower count for social media people mattering to getting roles in Hollywood. Do you see this whole changing of the guard impacting how acting is done, how careers are shaped, or do you still see some of the same stars lasting longer and the pipeline still being the same?
Honestly, this makes me think of. I'm going to use Marty Supreme as an example.
Yeah.
In terms of the marketing of that film.
Right.
That film, not a big budget. It came out the first weekend. It made $875,000 on only 6 screens.
Wow.
Now, one of the reasons why it made that much money is because Timothée Chalamet, who's only 30 years old, was willing to do kind of these crazy stunts to promote the film. If you take, let's say, an older actor, they're not willing to do that stuff. They're not willing to go on a blimp. They're not willing to go on the top of the sphere like he did. They're not. So I really think that it's going to come down to marketing and the younger talent like a Timothy Chalamet who's willing to kind of do more random like I have a show, for example, that I host for Waymo. I interview celebrities in a Waymo. It's a talk
That is
show.
brilliant,
And
by the way.
It's fun. It's
Great
really
marketing
fun.
and great for the host. It's so cool.
I mean, it's a win. I love it, but I will say that sometimes it's hard to get people the concept. They just don't quite get it. I mean, we've been very fortunate. I've had amazing guests on the show, but in terms of like the acting, I really think it's going to come down to which actors are willing to promote their projects in kind of a different kind of way. Because I've done thousands of press junkets like for the past 17 years. Press junkets aren't moving any needle. Like every once in a while, you'll get the viral moment. I've had some, other friends have had some. But in 2026, I mean, the press junket's not doing much.
Right.
But you have Timothy Chalamet on top of the Sphere, or like I had June Squibb, who's 95 years old, in my Waymo. That could maybe move some needles.
That gets
you
some
know?
eyeballs.
That's great.
And, you know, to that end, you know, we saw Leonardo DiCaprio out talking about this, you know, one battle after another,
Right.
doing TikToks and things that man has never had to do in his life, which kind of plays into that
Yeah.
idea of just the name and the idea of this Hollywood star kind of equalizing to a certain extent, and the people who can promote it,
Right.
like you said. Okay, so before we get too far into the future,
Yes.
for those of us
Yeah.
who may not have made it to the movies as often as you or have seen as much as you, share some of your favorites from 2025
Like
that we
that.
need to add to our must-watch list
Great question.
before award season kicks off.
Well, you mentioned Leo. So Leo has one battle after another. Huge award season, darling. It's nominated for everything. I'm a member of Critics' Choice. We have our award show coming up on Sunday on E! Watch it, plugging our show.
Yes.
So one battle after another. Sinners, you mentioned. My friend Zach's movie Weapons, which I loved. I also loved How to Train Your Dragon. I didn't necessarily think that movie was for me, but it's a amazing, wonderful family film that everyone should go see. I'm trying to think. Oh, I wrote down. Oh, also K-pop Demon Hunters. If you live under a rock. K-pop Demon Hunters, which was Netflix's biggest movie of all
Huge.
time. Wildly successful. Also, I had the star on my show, so you should watch that.
Yes.
And Marty Supreme, like we were talking about, also a great film with Timothy Chalamet.
Now, when it comes to watching any of these movies or just going into the process of being a good movie watcher, let's say a movie is out on streaming and it can also potentially be in theaters. How can a person go through the process saying which movie I'm going to go see in a theater versus which one I'm going to experience on streaming? Are there certain characteristics that a film has that may be better in a theater versus a streaming environment?
Do you want the soundbite answer or the real?
Give me the real one.
Let me just say before you give your answer.
It's kind of a weird question. I
Over
apologize.
the Christmas break, I watched Formula One and I watched Jay Kelly. One of those I wish I had seen in a theater.
Yeah. Jay Kelly, you can watch at home. It's Netflix. That's fine. I did see Formula One in the theater, and it was mesmerizing because, I mean, it was like you were in the freaking car. I mean, it was shaking.
Wow.
But I will admit to you guys that last night I had not seen the new Avatar movie, and we get all the screeners. So I watched the new Avatar movie at home, and it was just not the same.
Yeah.
Because I'm distracted. I'm on my phone. I'm looking, and I mean, James Cameron would probably
Yep.
murder me right now. So it goes. I would say, like, if you can see a film in big format, like 70 millimeter or IMAX, and obviously that is more expensive, but if you're willing to, if those films are available in the larger formats, I would say go see it. Like Sinners in IMAX, incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I would have seen Avatar in IMAX, quite frankly, instead of watching it at home last night. So I think when deciding what you're going to watch at home versus the theaters, if it's big action epic, I would, try. Or, like I read a quote today from the head of IMAX. Normally they were only into kind of these big action superhero movies, but they've expanded and they put family films in there and also horror movies. So if you're a big horror fan and want to be scared on a big screen, I would definitely go.
Got it.
Oh.
That's
Oh, okay, we're back.
That's crucial because we all don't know sometimes what can maybe push us to the theaters.
Yeah,
maybe we
and
can help
I-
with that process.
I think, like you said, I think that idea of making it a big screen experience and emphasis on big is going to be huge in 2026. Okay, we're down to our final less than 2 minutes.
less than 2.
One movie you're super excited about to see in 2026 and where people can follow you for your Waymo show and more.
Okay, I'm going to give you 2 movies. One is Avengers Doomsday coming out the end of the year. Can't wait. Also, Devil Wears Prada 2. Can't wait. Highly anticipated sequel. You can find my Waymo show on all of Waymo's socials, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. You can find me on my Instagram at Andrew Freund. I post everything. Lots of new Waymos coming. Next week, I'm going to CES with Waymo. So,
Wow.
yeah,
That'll
lots
be
coming
fun
for
too.
that.
All right. Well,
So cool.
please stay in touch because we'd love to catch up with you some more. Andrew Freund, thank you so much for spending some time with us here on the Live Zone Prime Time. Happy New Year. Enjoy the theater, and we'll catch up with you again soon.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good one.
awesome.
All right, Tony P.
Man,
You
I
know what
was
I'm also really
I could
excited
have asked 5
for?
other questions to
I'm
him.
excited for Supergirl because obviously I'm a huge Superman fan, and
Yes.
this is James Gunn's
Yeah, baby.
take on this whole DC universe. Also Avengers, like he said. Obviously those trailers have been kind of trickling out as we go.
Exactly, been kind of
and
sucking
then
us in.
the Odyssey with Christopher Nolan. and
Yes.
we watched that trailer, so. I think there will always be a reason to go to the movie, but
Right.
he's right that it's easier to watch it at home.
It is, and that was kind of my goal with that question, was to kind of give people, hey, here's a roadmap to actually have a hybrid approach and go to the movies.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm fascinated in 2026, will the films get shorter with the invention of vertical watching
I
on
do
phones?
think that is going to be
and
a
our
big thing.
attention spans. Will
I
they be
know.
shorter now?
Nothing beats a 90-minute rom-com. That's
Probably
why
shorter,
Netflix
minute
has that whole
10.
category. All right, thank